Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's CloudOne webinar, Maximo Implementation in the Cloud, with special guest Maxis Technology. I'm Nicole Delmastro, your moderator for today. And before we get started, I'd like to go over a few housekeeping items and give you a quick tour of your console so that you know how to participate in today's event. On the left side of your screen is a Q&A box. Here you can submit your questions to today's presenter at any time during the presentation. We'll collect your questions and address them during the Q&A session of today's webinar. You can also use this box if you have any technical issues, and we'll get you back on track. The second thing that I'd like to point out is the widget dock at the bottom of your console. The first widget is the green resource widget. Here you can download resources that are mentioned during today's webcast. The second widget that I'd like to point out is the Twitter widget. You can use this to tweet directly from your console, and it will automatically add today's webinar hashtag, which is OnCloud1. Lastly, please don't worry about taking notes and possibly missing anything during today's presentation. This webinar is being recorded, and you will receive a follow-up email with a link to view the recording. On behalf of the CloudOne webinar series, it is my pleasure to introduce you to our speakers for today, Ben Chodroff, CTO here at CloudOne, and Steve Cornell, CEO of Maxis Technology. Thanks so much for joining us today, Ben and Steve.
Hello, everybody. I want to thank you for taking your time to join and listen to our presentation. I'm Steve Cornell. I'm with Maxis Technology. I've been working with Maximo for 20 years. I've done this with large-scale systems, deployments, and upgrades. I've been working almost strictly on the technical side for a long time with this. Just been around this game for a while. Been doing this as a certified consultant, been around the Maximo game. I was an IBM employee and been through the MRO side of things as well, so I've been doing this for a long time. Ben?
Hey, thanks, Steve and Nicole. My name is Ben Chodroff. I'm the Chief Technology Officer here at CloudOne. We've been working with IBM's customers to help show them how to move their deployments out to the cloud as a managed service. I've spent the past 10 years working with IBM software and deployments, both as a software developer, technical specialist, architect, and now here in my role at CloudOne. I'm really excited to be able to talk to customers about showing them a better and more reliable experience out in the cloud. And I've been working with Steve here for about the past year and a half or so, helping customers move out to the cloud and showing them a really reliable experience. So today we're going to show a little bit deeper how this happens and get to answer some of your questions at the end of the presentation. So what we're going to be covering today is we're going to review what we do to get a customer on out. And it starts with an assessment of the environment to ensure that the architecture is spec'd and deployed in a way that can meet your needs, and looking at all the different configurations and deployment topologies available. We're also going to be going through and showcasing some of the unique tools that we have working with Maxis and CloudOne that allows us to provide a more reliable experience. We'll talk about the various customizations that we support for our customers, and they're quite flexible. I'll showcase that. And we'll also talk about the ways that we can integrate cloud-based deployments back to in-house applications securely using virtual private clouds. Next, we're going to go into a deep dive technical exploration of how we do monitoring. One of the most important aspects of moving out to the cloud is whether or not it's secure, and we're going to show how we do security at CloudOne using virtual private clouds. We're also going to show one of the other most important aspects, which is making sure that it's reliable, and that's going to be talking about all the various ways that we're monitoring the application servers, the databases, and all the various underlying applications and operating systems. And we're going to talk a little bit about some of the more advanced capabilities we have around log file monitoring. So again, I invite you all to ask questions throughout the course of this. We'll get a chance to answer those questions at the very end. Steve, why don't you go ahead and talk a little bit about the various different verticals that we have that we can support. So the various different verticals that we can work with in this type of deployment include many different flavors of Maximo, and each different industry has various different configurations that are available. There are nuclear power, utilities, oil and gas, all different types of capabilities that Maximo works with. The answer is we can help work with any different type of topology that you have deployed for Maximo. This allows you to move exactly what you have deployed in-house on out to the cloud and still receive the same managed service around it. It needs, though, to be assessed in order to understand what customizations and configurations you have performed with inside that. In addition, we support working with a number of different IBM solutions, including Tri-Riga, as well as many other IBM Rational and other analytics-based solutions. So there's quite a bit of different flavors and topologies that we can support in this type of mode. The assessment of the environment starts by understanding what type of engagement are we scoping out. We're going to try to get an understanding of how many different users we're working with, who is going to be accessing the environment from where, what is staying and what is changing. In many cases, customers might want to use this opportunity to upgrade or to also change some of the configurations that they've known to be problematic. We're going to need to understand what are the current issues. Everybody seems to have at least something that they realize is probably not ideal, and it's best to document what these are. So again, in a managed service, we're able to make sure that we're able to support it. We're also going to help avoid many of the common pitfalls. Some of these pitfalls include underscoped environments, troublesome integrations, or out-of-date versions that have known issues. One of the real benefits I feel of moving to the cloud is you're getting really a team of experts, Maximo experts, who know how those applications should be deployed and how to avoid those common problems. It's very difficult for one customer alone to gain the wealth of experience that a team of Maximo experts would gain having worked with many, many different customers. By moving to a cloud-based deployment, you're effectively not only just getting hosting, but you're really getting a true team of experts that's going to help provide a much more reliable managed service, in many cases avoiding those common pitfalls.
Maxis has a group of products that we feel brings a great value as you move to the cloud. Here you'll see one of the tools that we have that is very powerful. This is a Maximo Data Migration and Merge tool. As you see, it's a tool that is embedded into Maximo. It's a very easy to use application, and we have used this on many large conversion projects. It has the ability to go through the MBOs as you'd expect from a robust data migration application, and with the Maximo framework, that's almost a necessity at this point. You have the ability with this tool to pull from multiple environments. You can set it up. It's got a combination of capabilities as far as you can almost pull from any system like flat files, JDBC connections. Say you wanted to pull data in from another system while you were converting over. It gives us just a lot of power and flexibility. One of the most powerful features of the tool is that it will, from a Maximo to Maximo conversion, it gives us the ability, for a real-world scenario, we're converting clients from, they may say that they don't want to stay on an Oracle system and maintain the license costs of Oracle. So what we've done is we've been able to quickly and rather, not an expensive model, what we've done is we've come up with a way with this tool that we can quickly migrate them over from Oracle to a DB2 product that's an IBM product that also comes with Maximo. So it really gives us a lot of capabilities and very powerful options for the customer and can help you in a very good way. As you see here, this is the MZOD tool, and this is just a diagram of what it does. It's really hard to show what it does without an image. So this is a record and replay type of activity. We have the ability to sync one environment with another. If you'll look, you can see that the data is flowing from the production server to the server on the left. This could be a secondary application that's idling, or it could be something during a go-live scenario, which becomes insurance, or it gives you the ability to go live and have the system being updated at all times. The cutover can be painless. We believe this is a powerful offering when we convert you to your environment to the cloud. We also have an offering called Quick Start. This is an enablement platform. Most of us have looked at Maximo after an installation runs. If you don't have Max Demo, then you have a blank database. And anybody who's ever looked at that knows that there's a lot of work that has to be done. If you've ever hired consultants, you know that there's a lot of time and a lot of effort to go through all of these things and set up Maximo to make it work. This tool gets you up and running very quickly. As you can see with the list of items, it gives you out of the box. You get start centers that are working. You get KPIs. You have a work management process that's a best practice business process that's workable from some very strong consultants that have been around this game for a long time. So it's kind of a best practices model. You've got auto dispatch of work orders, single or multi-site, security groups based on the Maximo model, workflows, communication templates that are already built and working. This stuff is all operational as you configure it. So the screen enhancement to actually make Maximo work the way a person that's used it for years would want it to be. These are powerful items for, if you're wanting to set up a Maximo out of the box, these are the kind of things that you really need, and this is a lot of knowledge that you're getting with this product. Then you add your data and the end results to working environment. So it's really a powerful option. We do this. We've got several customers that this is the way they've deployed, and I think we've got some great word of mouth from this. Ben?
So the customizations that we support, again, are quite varied. We work with the customer to first identify what they are, and then we're able to then support what those customizations may be. It really can be something that might be just trivial, but if we're not documenting it, it can cause, as you're probably well aware, a lot of different issues. The best way we found to document it, which we encourage customers to use, is to work with the IBM Rational change sets. This allows us to work with a version control as well as ticketing system to be able to put through a dev QA production lifecycle how we're going to be doing various deployments. While this is optional, it is a best practice, and we continue to work with the customer to work with a process that works with their own team. A lot of times we're working with customers that still wish to maintain their own customizations while just having CloudOne and Maxis providing the managed service aspect just on the core Maximo product. And we're really happy to work in that manner as well. We offer a lot of flexibility with that. In the case of needing direct administrative access to the machines, we still grant customers access. And as we'll talk about later, each customer environment is their own effectively. We don't do any sharing of resources between customers. So it still allows you to have really the same level of administration that you had internally, but with a better managed service. We'll talk more about that in a bit. As well, the external system integrations is a critical piece for most Maximo deployments. Many customers continue to have systems in-house or potentially out in other clouds or other service providers that need to be integrated to their Maximo environment. The forms of integrations are quite varied as well. Some integrations rely directly on TCP protocols. Others have REST-based interfaces. Some have also some higher tolerances or lower tolerance depending on the integration of what the networking is looking like. Some of the most common ones that we're supporting would be mobile integrations around Cyclo, Data Splice, and the new IBM mobile offering. But there's many other various integrations that we work with, and there are too many to list in one slide. We prefer, of course, if it is a REST-based interface, those tend to be the easiest to support, especially with the cloud. Like any cloud deployment, there is a small amount of latency that's involved when moving a deployment out to the cloud, but in most cases, this is not proved problematic. We also, since we're working in a virtual private cloud, have the ability to work with your network security team to implement what's called a site-to-site integration. This allows our virtual private cloud, which is dedicated to your individual needs, to be integrated back to your network, your corporate network, where the other systems may reside. This really allows you the full breadth of any sort of integration that you would have been able to do internally, but now out in the cloud, yet still securely, since you're not in a multi-tenant or shared resource type model. What's going to be very important throughout all this is to identify who's supporting the integrations. We're going to need to identify who the contacts are for the various systems that may reside back in-house, and have a better understanding if the Maximo application integrations would be disrupted at all if those other services were to become unavailable. So part of that quick start involves determining who the operational teams are and how the handoffs will work. Again, specific to each customer, but we've gone through this quite a few times. So we're going to transition now into our next section, which is more around monitoring and security. We've talked a little bit about security, and I'll speak about that a bit more. But first, let's talk about monitoring in general. What you don't know will hurt you, and that's what we've determined for many IBM deployments, regardless if it's Maximo or any other solution. It's really being about proactive to identify potential issues before they happen, as well as being able to quickly react when issues do happen to resolve them and identify ways to prevent them. Monitoring involves many different areas of the deployment. At the lowest level, the infrastructure and operating system and various middleware stacks become CloudOne's responsibility to ensure that they're running reliably. The infrastructure, of course, is ran by CloudOne, but all the middleware in terms of the database performance and queries and different response times from the application servers also become CloudOne's responsibility to be continually monitoring and providing information back. One of the challenges customers might have with moving to the cloud is they feel like they're getting a black box. CloudOne works really hard to avoid that situation. We want to actually provide you more transparency to your Maximo deployment than you might have even had internally. And we do this through a series of dashboards which allow you to see the same level of monitoring that you would have if you were directly on the consoles themselves. Yet it's no longer your responsibility to be doing so. It's CloudOne's. So this provides everything from CPU usage to memory usage to failed packets coming back from the Ethernet adapters, all set with a out-of-the-box best practices that we've identified for what the specific thresholds should be and alerting the operations teams in CloudOne if there are specific issues. This is all can be customized as well, so we work with each customer deployment to understand best how the monitoring should work. What we are doing on top of the infrastructure, application, and middleware stack is also doing custom monitoring on the application itself. This allows us to exercise key pieces of functionality within the Maximo deployment to ensure, can I log in? Can I view my work orders? Is this particular integration working? This is important because as changes and other system loads or other factors impact Maximo, we want to be able to at least react quickly if there is a problem, or better yet, identify when performance or other metrics are no longer meeting our standards. This allows us to trigger both emails to our help desk, which is how we can go and start to investigate issues, as well as we'll alert the client as well. So if your operations team would be interested in knowing if an alert is happening that is critical, we also have the ability to send it back to your admins just so you're aware as well that we're looking into issues. We also regularly perform health checks of the environment. We work with a variety of different testing solutions that allow us to exercise the functionality into greater detail. These are beyond the normal checking of every minute, but more intensive tests that can be both functional and performance related. We're also doing some pretty in-depth memory management techniques. Again, we mentioned before that for any one customer to try to implement these type of tests, it is quite possible, but very difficult, because for each Maximo deployment, there's a very, very large learning curve to get these type of metrics and performance tests implemented. But in the cloud, we're gaining a lot of perspective across a very large set of Maximo customers to be able to create reusable best practices around monitoring, memory management threads that ultimately benefit all of our customers. When we encounter an issue with one customer, we're really learning for the entire whole.
Yeah, and Ben, I'd just like to add to the memory management component of this, and the ability to interact with the JMX. This is something that we've done with some larger scale customers as just a Maximo services company. It's really, really hard to put all of this together. I just want to reiterate that that's a powerful piece of information that you're actually adding. That I can't tell you how many customers I've been and seen the problems that they've encountered with trying to correlate data from a JMX, which is your JVM information, the internal working, to the monitoring side of it, where you're actually looking at the log files and you're correlating information. We're doing some things there that actually show you how the application interacts with the JMX side of things, and it's things that I've seen some other customers do, but it takes a lot of effort and a lot of time, and it's probably not something that's valuable for a lot of customers. So there you go, Ben.
Yeah, I totally agree, Steve. It's something that if we're not being proactively watching it, it's very easy to have a system outage regardless of the high availability or clustering that's put into the environment. It's really something that has to be proactively watched. The care and feeding of Maximo now becomes CloudOne's responsibility, and due to our sales model, we're making sure that our customers are getting a consistent experience. Otherwise, we're going to lose the customer. So it's really important to have that care and feeding done regularly. Otherwise, there will be issues. We also work on the performance settings. So, Steve, do you want to perhaps talk through some of the database and web sphere tuning that we do on customer environments?
Absolutely. Thanks, Ben. We take great care when we review your environment to make sure that the settings are going to serve you as a customer. We look through all of this stuff. We're going to look through your database settings. And if we're going to move it over as is, there's different requirements and stuff, but we have the teams to look this over, and this is what we do. We'll review the items as you see. We look over the database in detail to make sure that the settings, as we bring you over, when you come to the cloud, you get your full support of our team that has the experience that you as a customer may not have the ability to maintain in-house. This keeps you from expending time and energy on maintaining a system that really doesn't add value to your business. So you get the expertise of our performance tuning, people that are going through and looking at the database from the I/O perspective, the indexing, and there's a lot more. I couldn't put all of these things on the slide. But the web sphere settings, how do we maintain the JVM settings? You've already seen some of that stuff. That's so powerful and so important in a Maximo environment. The thread pool settings, we look at it to make sure your CPU's working like it should. The threads too small, you don't get enough work out of your application server. We look at obviously these things fall into clustering settings, HTTP server settings, max keep alive requests. You've probably haven't seen these before and may not ever want to see them, and that's kind of the things that we take off of your plate. So you guys can do what you do to be successful without having to learn all of these things. Just so you guys know, Maxis Technology also offers this as a service for customers that would need reviews of their current environment. We're happy to help with these items as needed. Even if you're not planning to do that as a cloud offering, we do that as a service as well, just so people are aware. Ben?
So every aspect of the Maximo deployment stack matters, and one of the most important aspects is the database. We are constantly looking at the database layer to ensure that the SQL queries themselves are performing reliably, and that there are no faults or any other issues coming back. It also allows us to consistently get a baseline of what the normal performance looks like, and then measure how it changes as the user load impacts the server. Many integrations and customizations, as well as just regular usage of the Maximo environment, can impact the database. One of the things that we're constantly reviewing with customers are the integrations perhaps not constructed in a way that are using effective SQL queries. We are able to then use the long SQL logs from the database to be able to perhaps suggest better ways of writing those SQL queries to reduce the impact to the overall application. We also have the ability to test response time of the application from a global perspective. So we certainly can test it from a local perspective if the application is deployed internally and only is accessible by your internal staff. If it is a publicly accessible system that's going to be monitored from multiple different geographies, we have the ability to then set up performance monitoring from different vantage points around the world to get response times and view latency. One of the benefits of the cloud model is you're getting an infrastructure topology that has the ability to deploy servers anywhere in the world. So we've worked with a lot of customers to implement reverse proxies and other caching mechanisms, as well as WAN-based acceleration, to reduce the overall latency to customers and users, which might not be in the same geography as their Maximo deployment. Many internal IT shops struggle with this type of performance improvements because it's difficult enough just to service Maximo itself, let alone try to scale it globally. One of the real benefits of moving to the cloud is the ability to start solving some of those global deployment challenges through a provider that really knows what a cloud-based infrastructure can do to help reduce those issues. Another area that we invest quite heavily in is log file monitoring. Log file monitoring is important for Maximo and many other IBM solutions because the true health of your Maximo environment often is being recorded in the logs. The challenge, of course, is finding the needle in the haystack. These logs can grow very quickly, especially during a problem, and if they're not being constantly monitored, there is often going to be a problem that happened hours, days, weeks even ago that will eventually spiral into an outage or something even worse. What we have done is started to work across all of our customers to identify particular outage or particular error messages that ought to be reviewed. This allows us to capture information on one customer and again apply it across all of our customers to be able to say, well, if we see this particular issue, it might not cause an outage immediately. It might, though, start a memory leak and spiral out over a course of days and weeks, and that will ultimately need to be fixed. So we work within the customer to perhaps either identify what's causing that particular issue or at the very least coordinate an outage to try to correct the issue. It also allows us to work with various different customizations and configurations that the customer is doing to identify your own specific error messages and other things that need to be alerted back to your operations team. Again, we have the ability to send these type of alerts on an automated basis back to your administrators so that they can go and filter them out and try to determine what's causing these issues. So if you're not looking at your logs, you really don't know your application state. Once again, one of the benefits of moving to the cloud is getting a wealth of knowledge of how to best filter these logs and use the information effectively.
Yeah, Ben, I'd also like to chime in here. And from a Maximo perspective, this is really a powerful solution because we're able to customize this. Say for interfaces, as a example, a lot of end users have a lot of interfaces that are interactive, and your system administrator may be monitoring these. Things may get left behind. We have the ability to give you this information and give it to you almost in a report email fashion, to where we know that this stuff is happening. You have to have interactive nature with this or it's not going to happen, and we can make sure that this gets to you. Now, on another topic related to the performance again, this gives us the power to actually run scripts against the log files and certain things that most customers aren't going to do or aren't going to be able to. And what we're also going to be doing is coordinating or correlating memory management activities that are happening in the Maximo environment. This is all done by looking at the logs, and we can detect problems that are coming ahead of time. So we can be, instead of reactive, we can be proactive, which is, I think, what most customers want. So I think that's it. And with that, I think we're at the Q&A slide at this point.
And I do want to apologize. We lost one slide in there, which was actually our security slide. So I just want to at least talk briefly about this, and we're happy to follow up with any customers. We do have a lot of security capabilities around audit logging, middleware configurations, operating system patches as well becomes our responsibility. We'd be happy to talk with your network security team about our virtual private cloud configuration and the availability to do a site-to-site integration. There's much more we could talk about with the security, and I really feel terrible for not having the slide in here. But please, we'd love to have a follow-up discussion specifically around this.
Thanks, Ben and Steve. We're now going to begin answering some of the questions that were submitted during today's presentation. As a reminder, you can still submit your questions through the red Q&A widget on the console to the left of your screen, or if you're following along on Twitter, tweet us your questions using today's hashtag, which is #OnCloudOne. Ben and Steve, our first question is from Vanessa, and she's asking, are you able to provide overall performance assessments?
Yeah, absolutely, and that's something that I spoke to a little bit. That's something our team has done in the past when needed. Performance assessments of an environment are actually over time, those things need to be evaluated. We do upgrades. I mean, we've done a lot of that stuff where people have their systems, upgraded over time, and they haven't maybe upgraded the database. They haven't changed any settings for 2 or 3 years, and a lot of times these just aren't things that people are comfortable with, and they may not have the expertise on their team. Yeah, sure, we've done that and do that. So, absolutely.
Okay, great. Our next question is from Tony, and I think Ben kind of alluded to this at the end of today's webinar, but his question is, how secure is this type of deployment?
Sure, I'll take that one. So what we're doing is a virtual private cloud deployment, meaning that each customer's resources are separate from every other customer's. This means that you have your own app servers, your own database, your own network level segmentation, your own LUNs from the storage area. It really gives you complete isolation, unlike most cloud deployments that we think of, which are multi-tenant. We do what's called single tenant. Each customer has their own. We also work not to put these instances on the public internet. This is very important because it invites hackers, if there's a public interface, to go and try to hack it, even if you already have a username and password. It's still, by putting it not on the public internet, we're not allowing hackers to view this. Instead, we work, or we at least encourage our customers as much as possible to do a site-to-site integration. That means the only way that this instance is accessible is over that site-to-site, meaning that your end users have to come from your corporate network out to the cloud over that private VPN tunnel to the cloud instance. This is a much more, by design, secure type deployment, meaning that even if the customer knows that your deployment is on CloudOne, the only way to get to that actual deployment is by first going to their corporate network, then on out. A much more problematic way of hacking. We also are responsible from the operating system patching, the middleware patching, as well as the application patching to ensure that your deployment is done securely. As you can imagine, having worked with so many different customers, it gives us a lot of experience to understand what are the various different areas that need to be maintained, as well as how do we go about maintaining them most effectively. We can have a much lengthier discussion about security, but I think it's really important that you walk away knowing that virtual private clouds are a better model for these type of enterprise deployments, and as well as site-to-site integration helps reduce your risk by not putting your systems on the public internet. Did that answer the question?
I believe so. Thank you. As we wrap up, if you've enjoyed today's webinar and would like additional resources on Maximo implementation in the cloud, visit oncloudone.com. Remember, you will be receiving an email today with a link to view today's recorded webinar. On behalf of the CloudOne webinar series and our presenters, thank you for joining us today, and have a great rest of the day.